Hello riders, welcome to Cycle Training with Trinity. My name's Trinity, and today we have a 5x5x5 sweet spot workout. So go ahead, get settled on your bike, and let's get started. Okay, starting out here just by moving our legs nice and easy. Pretty much all of my workouts start out just like this, assuming that we haven't been on the bike, haven't done any warming up or working out at all today. And so just giving your body the chance to learn that we're going to be working out without making it too abrupt. But as we're sitting here warming up, we have a relatively simple workout today. At least on paper, it looks like a bunch of 5-minute segments focusing on zone 3 and zone 4. And that's where this 5x5x5 segment comes in. We'll be spending 5 minutes in zone 4, then 5 minutes in zone 3, doing that 5 times. And that will be our hour together. So really making the best use of our time today. I know technically I think this workout is an hour and 2 minutes or something like that. But primarily just because we want to give our body that appropriate time to warm up. Then we're fitting in our segments. And that's what we're getting up to. But you may have also noticed this is called the 5x5x5 sweet spot workout. And so if you've taken my other sweet spot videos, watched those, you'll know that sweet spot work is finding that area between zone 3 and zone 4. And it's kind of finding that balance between work that you can do for over an hour, that's zone 3, and work that you can do pretty much for exactly an hour, which is zone 4. Zone 4 work is pretty taxing. If we held zone 4 for the entire hour, we would be totally done by the end of this workout, totally tired and worn out. But zone 3 lets us go for over an hour. That's our tempo pace. That's something we can hold for longer periods of time. And so finding that balance, teetering between those two zones, is what we're looking to practice here today. In just a second, we're going to get into kind of our ramp up stage just to get familiar with the zones for today. It's all going to go by pretty quick. From where we are right now, which is probably zone 1, the super easy zone, in just a second, we're going to look to bring it together on the same cadence. Our first set is at 80 RPM, so we'll focus on getting there first, maybe even slowing your legs down a bit. And then our first minute here of this kind of ramp up is adding just a few gears until you get to zone 2 or that 3 or 4 effort out of 10. Ultimately, this is still on the easy side of the scale. You could go for several hours here at zone 2. This is your endurance zone. We won't be here at all tonight, but just using this first minute to let us get ramped up to these slightly higher zones where we will be spending our time. So we'll just be here for a minute, letting our body get acclimated. Then we'll get up to zone 3, then zone 4. We'll reset and then be ready to go. So just a few seconds here, I'm going to have us focus on this transition as it comes up. Even as we add gear, do your best not to change your pacing too much. So just go ahead, add that single gear, keep your legs moving. And here, zone 3 is where we get to that 5 out of 10 effort. And you may not know what that feels like off the bat, or if this is your first video with me, or if you're just a beginning cyclist, you may not be able to find a 5 out of 10 right away, and that's totally fine. As long as it feels more difficult than where you just were, that is all I care about for the start. Again, this first set that we'll be going through is entirely about finding those zones, making adjustments as you need. Just using this time to get our bodies warmed up, and I'm already starting to feel it. We'll have one more zone to go up. We'll get to zone 4, then we'll bring it back down, reset, and then get into our workout. So let's go ahead here. Last gear on the bike, up in zone 4. This is that 7 out of 10 effort. You really should start to break a sweat here, especially as we do our 5-minute intervals. But this is where your breathing starts to catch up to you. As we go through these efforts, I'll coach a bit more on how we manage these efforts, what they're supposed to feel like in our body, especially over longer intervals. But for now, this should just feel like the hardest that you've worked in these first handful of minutes. Again, not important on how precise you are, though if you do have an FTP tool that you like to use, you should know exactly where you need to be. But just a few more seconds, and we will take these gears off to reset. Back to free spin for just a minute, getting water if you need it. And like I mentioned, as we start our time, we're getting right into it. Our first working effort is in zone 4. So that highest zone that we got to in this warm-up, that's where we're starting. And I promise I'm doing that for a reason. We'll be prepared for lots of adjustments in this first set. Again, even if it's not perfect, if it's not your exact zone 4, you'll still be getting a good workout. And a big part of this process is learning. So if you strayed away from 80 RPM, let's find that pace. And here we go. Set 1 is started. First 5 minutes here in zone 4. And so just give yourselves a few seconds to add those gears back. If you already know you want to make adjustments from our super quick warm-up, feel free to do that. This first set, the theme of it all is learn. For zone 4, zone 3, this first time around, learning what the zones feel like, learning from your bike, learning from yourself. And now we're here for 5 minutes. So you have lots and lots of time to figure out, okay, what does this feel like? What can I do over the course of an hour versus a single minute? Starting to make those adjustments and be comfortable. As we get back into the zone 4 pace, you may feel your heart rate spiking as your body continues to kind of heat up and your heart rate comes up with it. Give yourself a moment to accommodate that. Make those adjustments that you need. It's hard to believe that we're already 90 seconds in here, pretty much. And one other tidbit I'll give to you guys, both for your benefit, just personally, as well as for your growth on the bike, will be the opportunity to stand for just a little bit. So I'll probably start this one just a few seconds later so I can talk us through it. Even when we stand, I want you guys to be able to hold the same amount of power, hold the same zone that you have been sitting as when you're standing. Because we'll do this with both zone 4 and zone 3. And so just making preparations for that. As we stand, we're gonna look at our power, what we're putting out right now for zone 4, and we're going to match that even when we're out of the saddle. So to work on this, Take a quick look at the power you're putting out right now if you have a power meter. If not, then just pay attention to the effort level that your body is putting out right now. And once you have that, before we stand, we want to add support under our legs. So find a few extra gears. And once you have that support, we're gonna get up and out of the bike for about 60 seconds. And we will have the opportunity to do this every single interval, zone 4, zone 3, you name it. It is not mandatory. If you feel better taking this whole ride seated, that is totally fine. Do what works best for you. I give these opportunities both for the practice of maintaining watts, seated or standing, but also to give everybody the opportunity to kind of get off their seat for a bit. That is typically appreciated. So it's multi-purpose, but again, not a requirement to have a good ride. But take one more look at your power meter. Check in and see if you're matching those watts from when you were sitting down. And speaking of, we'll take a seat. Oops. We'll take off just enough gear so we can get back into zone 4, sitting in the seat, and hold that for less than a minute. A lot of adjustments, a lot of learning going on here in this first set. But feel free to take it in stride. Give yourselves the cushion that you need to learn to make these adjustments so that as we repeat these intervals further into the workout, you get more and more comfortable with these efforts. Up next in a few seconds is zone 3, and that is more or less your active recovery for this workout. So the goal is to keep the same pace, but just take off one gear or go down one effort level until you're back at that 5 out of 10. Whew. And already, your body should be feeling better, should be moving a bit easier. Again, we didn't change anything about the pace for this first set. Just taking off a bit of resistance and bringing our effort down just slightly. I'll tell you now, this is the extent of recovery that we'll get through our workout today. I know when I say sweet spot workout, usually sounds a bit easier than a VO2 max session or even some of our climbing workouts. But this one, just because of how fast paced it is, working on those transitions between zones, we're definitely getting a good workout today. All right, I mentioned that you'll have the opportunity to do a standing climb in both zones. So our next opportunity is coming up. Generally, I'm gonna have us do it between the 2nd and the 3rd minute of each set. So pretty much right in the middle of each 5-minute chunk. That means it's coming up pretty quickly. So as we start to get closer to that, take a look at your watts now, or if you don't have a power meter, just settle into this feeling of that 5 out of 10 work. That's what we'll be referencing as we prepare to climb for this interval. Even as we get up and out of the seat, our bodies may slow down, but we're adding gear back to compensate. So let's add those gears back, adding the extra gears you might need, and then we're up here for a minute. As you get up and out of the saddle, taking a look at your power, trying to match what you had when you were seated in zone 3, because this is all the same zone, but it's taking it in a different shape. You'll probably notice here, your legs are not moving at 80 RPM anymore. That is fine. That's expected for climbs. And so keeping that in mind, either checking in with yourself, saying, hey, is this a 5 out of 10 effort? Or are these the same watts that I had before? Few seconds here, then we'll sit down, get back into seated zone 3, and let's do it. Ooh, all right. Take a few seconds here to breathe, transition your body between those efforts. And as I mentioned, zone 3 is the extent of recovery that we're going to get tonight. I know it may sound daunting, but the reality of zone 3 of tempo work is that you're able to control your breathing. So as you start to bring your heart rate down a bit, you're able to begin taking relaxed, controlled breaths on the bike, not gasping for air. Up in zone 4, we do work a bit harder for our air, but it's all manageable for the intervals that we're doing tonight or today. But with our second set of zone 4 coming up, we will be shaking things up just a bit to keep it fresh, to be able to practice as many skills as we can during this hour. And so this second set will be up at 90 RPM. For some of you, the transition that we make here, all you may need to do is bring up your speed, and that will add the watts, the power that you need to get up to that next zone. But otherwise, if you need to make any other adjustments, go for it. We started looking at the watts that we put out into the bike. And so trying to get back there, let's go ahead, add the speed, second set at 90 RPM. And I'm pretty much back at the power that I need to hold, that I need to be in for zone 4 work. As you get settled in here, do your best to maintain that nice and controlled breathing and body on the bike. If you remembered your zone 4 watts from last set, or you have your FTP number, you know where you should be getting back to. Otherwise, we're just paying attention to how our body's feeling, coming up to that 7 out of 10 effort. I'm already starting to sweat a bit more, I can feel it. And we're maintaining this for another minute before we can climb again. This is technically our third time climbing. And like I said, for climbs, pace goes out the window. We're not going to be holding 90 RPM up and out of the saddle. That would look pretty crazy, but also pretty admirable. But that being said, choosing the pacing that works for you. The source of truth for effort on the bike will always be power. So if you have a tool, a source that'll give you that, that is what I want you to pay attention to. But continue taking deep breaths right here. Getting ready to add some gear. And here we go. I'm going to start my transition just a bit early. And once you're there, we are up and out. Just a minute here. Once you're there, do your best to glance back down at your bike computer or whatever metric source you have, telling you that you're maintaining that same zone 4 power, or if you made any adjustments, maintaining the power that you've now chosen. Like I said, the theme of this set is adjust. So you have the freedom to choose whatever changes you need to or want to make. And just a few more seconds before we sit back down. Still working. Excellent. Take a seat here. Take off the gear or take off your climbing gears. But do your best not to let yourself go below that zone 4 effort. Whew. I'm sweating buckets today, I'll tell you. The nice part is about this ride, we started off quick. We were learning a lot these first 2 sets. As we get to the second half of this workout, I'll have less and less to say, or other things for us to focus on that aren't getting used to the workout. And that's always nice, because as your brain starts to learn the pattern of the work that we're doing, it can make those transitions more seamlessly. And then we can just focus on consistency for the rest of the ride. For now, less than a minute left with this higher work. Again, our cadence is 90 RPM. If you ever left that, come back to it now. We'll also have a zone 3 interval where we'll hit 90. So all is not lost if you ever strayed away from that pace. Still breathing here, making sure you're sending that air deep through your body, sending it to your legs to keep them moving. And then start to get ready with the gear that you're going to take off. Just enough to get one effort level lower than where we just were. Excellent. Find that combination of 90 RPM and then whatever gears you need to get you to that zone 3 power. And here for 9 minutes, for 5 minutes total. 9 minutes would be a lot. And in that middle minute, we get to break it up a bit with that standing effort. And I'll say this now because we'll be back at 90 RPM and also a little bit faster for our last interval tonight. But if these quicker paces aren't for you, you don't have to do them quick. You can keep 80, even 85 RPM if that's more comfortable. As long as you're putting out the right amount of power, you're getting the workout that you need in. I mostly throw out these different cadences to keep things fresh, so we're not just doing the same exact thing for an hour, and then also give you practice at these higher cadences. But if you're never going to be moving your legs that fast, you don't need to practice it. So keep moving your legs at the same speed that you have been. And we're going to get up and out in about 10 seconds. Nice control. Let's go ahead, throw that gear on, and we're going to climb. As I adjust my climb, I always just keep an eye on my watts to see that they're settling where they need to be, and so that I can make any adjustments that I need relatively quickly. Whew. Climbing always uses different set of muscles. Feels like a different pocket of energy. But all we need is about 15 seconds left here. Then we're back seated again. But for those of you that are standing, great work. Keep it up. And then we'll join the sitting crew back in the saddle, taking that gear off. 90 RPM. Heart rate coming back down if it needs to, but not slowing your body down. Nice. All right, up next is zone 4. But this set coming up is our halfway mark. After we finish our third set, we'll be over halfway through the workout. So you can use that to motivate you through this kind of middle point that's coming up here. And what I'll also give you is that set 3 is back down to 80 RPM. So we're slowing things down again, getting that strength emphasis under our legs. And so this effort coming up should feel more difficult regardless. Zone 4 should feel harder than zone 3. But still keeping things under control and giving our cardio a little bit of a break in exchange for a build in our strength work. So if you like to get a jump start on this transition, go ahead, slow your legs down to 80 RPM and then add gears back. We not only need enough gear to make up that zone 3 effort after we slow down, but extra gears to get back in zone 4. And so what I'll give to you here, these next 2 sets are gonna be pretty much a like for like repeat of our first 2 sets. We did 80 RPM, 90 RPM. These 2 sets, 80 RPM, 90 RPM. Because the theme of our first 2 sets was learning and adjusting and getting used to our zones, kind of like a very high intensity extended warm-up. Now we're starting to execute our efforts and seeing if we can improve on whatever we did the first 2 times. So for this 80 RPM segment, see if we can make this look better. Now that we know where our zones are, now that we know what power that we need to make zone 4 look good, now we're just executing it. And at this point, our heart, our lungs, our body has learned the kind of work that we're making it do for this entire hour. We should have control, and we should be ready to take this standing climb coming up in a few seconds. Let's add that gear on. Reach and rise out of the seat. And as always, keeping an eye on our power, matching where we just were in our seated interval. Nice work. Once it's there, once you've gotten your gears figured out All you have to do is keep your pacing, your cadence consistent. And then one foot in front of the other. That's typically how I like to think of any climb. It's just one foot at a time. And for just about 10 more seconds. Keep it going nice and smooth. Excellent. Taking a seat here, taking off that extra gear. Again, feeling ourselves getting used to the slower pace so our legs can come back down to 80. Just making sure you're giving it the gears that you need. All right. Okay, third time through. Checking in with you guys. Is it feeling more familiar now? My hope is that every iteration, every interval, every round begins to feel more and more comfortable. We know what's coming. We know what the effort feels like. We know what it looks like. We're able to make those transitions smoother. And by the end of this, we will be tired, but we'll feel more comfortable with what sweet spots look like, with what zone 3, zone 4 efforts look and feel like, both seated and standing. And a piece of good news I have for you, in some seconds, just a little bit longer, we'll get to take off an extra gear. So zone 3 is on deck. Zone 4 should not feel any different than when we started this workout. So make sure it still feels like a 7 out of 10. Feeling that push under your legs, that effect that it has on your cardio system. And fortunately, we will take a gear off. Just because we have less resistance doesn't mean we need to speed up our legs. So taking that gear off, just letting that lighter effort come to you, not trying to bridge the gap or make up the ground to get more power in. That's not what the segment's about. Whew. I am so incredibly thirsty today, and I'm sweating a ton. So after this workout, I will probably look forward to getting a big glass of water or whatever else is roaming around in my fridge. So I'll certainly be looking forward to that. Nice. Again, using a few moments here just to reset. Reset back to the first set that we did, back to 80 RPM. And just feeling more confident going through the interval this time around. As you glance down at your power meter, that number should be holding steady. As long as you're holding a steady cadence, your power will also be steady once you have your resistance or gear locked in. And so if any changes came through those first two sets, especially around zone 3, just paying attention to that, because we'll see it again in a few seconds. When we're standing, that'll be our important marker for this next minute. So getting prepared. Are you ready? Let's add on those gears. Reach and rise. Nice. Effort level's the same. Legs might feel different than when we were sitting, but focus for these standing intervals is just pushing down and through those pedals. As each leg does that, the other leg gets to come up on the backside. That leg resets, and then it takes its turn to push down. A few more seconds here, come on. Legs might be feeling it, but you've got this. Excellent job. Take a seat, back the gear back off. 80 RPM. Great work. Okay, finishing up this set. Then we just have 2 left. That is it. We're feeling better and better about spending time in these zones. And now we're just ready to rock it. You all may have noticed that I made an addition to my filming setup with the brand new Lego bike. My birthday was a few weeks ago and my husband bought this for me. I'd seen it online and was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. I love to bike. And it even has a trainer setup attached. And so right after I built it, we were wondering where we would set it to display it. And then the obvious answer came up. So now it's got a new home right here. We'll see, it may move around, but I think it makes a nice little addition to our setup. Hopefully you agree. The best part about it too is that the pedals actually move around. There's like a mini plastic chain that actually attaches to gears. And so it works as a bike and it can come out of its trainer. So I thought that was super cool. Anyway, getting back into the zone, starting our 4th set, set number 4, back at 90 RPM. So let's go ahead, add some of that speed. And again, with this extra speed, these additional RPMs, you may have gained back the power that you need for zone 4. But take some time, make any other adjustments that you need, and we'll just settle in. Nice. What we're doing here as well is getting practice every single time we change our zones. We're giving our heart rate, our heart and our lungs training for what transitions feel like, so that even as our bodies are moving faster, our heart should also be beating quicker as well, but it's not frantic. Our heart says, hey, I've done this before. I know how to slowly start beating quicker to make sure you're getting everything that you need in the body. But the more we do this, the less of a surprise it is to our system. Nice. So like I said, this is our 2nd time through at 90 RPM specifically. So just focusing on execution for these elements. And as we start to get into the later stages of our workout, also thinking about form and control on the bike. So I'll talk about that a bit more in the later parts of zone 4 and also zone 3. But I'll probably start talking about it as we stand up in just a few seconds for our standing climb section. All right, you know how this goes now. All you need to do is add your gears and we're standing. Nice. Body slowing down, but more support underneath our feet means that we're pushing harder as a trade-off. And even as we're standing, you guys might be at different heights for your arms. So there's probably some variation for how tall you're standing up. Ultimately, we just want to be supporting our chest up. We don't want to be hunching over the bike. This allows us to get air into our diaphragm. And with our arms, wherever they are just here for support because our legs are the ones doing the work here. So keep it going, just a few more seconds. Keep breathing. And we'll take a seat. Take off that gear. 90 RPM. I say it every time, just in case we forget what set we're on. But give yourself just a few seconds here so you get adjusted. Nice. I feel like the trickiest part of this workout every single time is bringing things back down after that standing climb interval. I'm always breathing a little bit harder when I come back down to the bike. And because we don't go straight into a recovery, we're coming back to zone 4. That means our bodies are still working, but because they're just working differently, making that adjustment without just taking gears all the way off is one of the biggest practice areas for me. But hopefully at this point, whatever that journey has looked like has brought you back to the zone 4 effort, holding onto that speed. Nice. And we're back to feeling totally in control. I'll probably save some of the form conversation for after we make this next transition to zone 3. But start to think about what that word means and looks like on the bike. And as we do that, we'll just go ahead, take off a gear, keeping our same cadence, but kind of finding this nice mini break, a few minutes of reprieve in our efforts. And as our bodies are working just a little bit less in this zone 3 effort, it might be easier for us to think about our form and control here. Almost every session, you'll hear me talk about some components of form. And so you may know the basics already, but feeling like you're pushing your feet directly towards the ground, but because our pedals are in a circle, they're not gonna go straight to the ground and then come straight back up. They're riding in that circular motion. So as some of your energy starts to feel lost pushing down, you'll feel your feet get guided towards your backside. And that's where I want you to start thinking about the muscles that you're using to draw your legs back and up. So if you've ever done A skips, if you're a track athlete or a runner, you might have done these, but they're kind of skips similar to regular skips where you pull your feet up to your glutes and then up to your knees come up to your chest. And so feeling those backside muscles working here. And there's one more component that I'll talk about in the second half of this zone 3 effort. But we're getting close to our standing climb already. So letting our brains shift gears, pun intended, for that. Nice. Deep breath here, add your gear, and we'll reach and rise for a minute. I've already talked about form here. So at this point, just think about execution, especially because we're pushing out less power here. It may feel slightly easier to be able to maintain this control. Quick check on your power, if you have that on your display. Just making sure that we have the gears to support us that we need. Last few seconds, come on. Might be hard, but you'll make it through. All right, we'll take a seat, get those gears back off. Faster pace here, but less resistance. Awesome. After we finish this up, we're in our last set. One more segment of zone 4, one more segment of zone 3, then we'll be done and cooling down. But the last piece about form I want to talk to you about before we shift over to that last set of intervals is thinking about the rest of our legs. So I talked about our feet and what that should feel like pulling up to the backside, but also thinking about our knees as well. One thing that tends to happen is that, especially if you haven't sized your bike correctly, if your bike seat is too short, a lot of riders will start to spread their knees out wide to kind of make room for their legs. Or some riders, and it's kind of harder to do on an actual bike, will turn their knees in towards each other. Both of those things long term will probably catch up to you physically. So thinking about both kneecaps pointed directly in front of you and in parallel lines. But we'll have time to think about that in our last set. So speaking of, the last set that we're gonna get into is at 100 RPM. Kind of using this as our finisher for today. And because we get to speed up, all that you might need to do is just add that speed, leave everything else alone, and that by itself may add the power that you need. But let's go ahead, go for it. Looking for 100 RPM. But again, if that speed's not for you, you can hang out at 90 or even 95 if you're kind of close. Or if you've chosen a slower pace, no pressure to speed up here. But with this speed at 100 RPM, this is giving us the most work and training for our heart and our lungs, the most work for our cardio, and the least amount of resistance for our legs in these respective zones. So it's working on giving ourselves some variety here, training across the board. Even if we're not specifically doing a climbing strength workout or a sprint workout, doing these different speeds with the resistances to match helps to build that training, even if our focus isn't specifically there. But speaking of our focus here, this last couple of segments, I have named them finishing or finisher, whatever makes most sense for you. Just giving ourselves the goal of finishing strong. We've done all of this 4 times now. We know what we need to do. And I know even if you don't directly have the confidence in yourselves just yet, that you know exactly where you need to be. And so we're just gonna finish strong. In just a few seconds, we're gonna do our second to last climb of the ride. So our goal is to make it look good, feel good. Let's add that gear, and let's go. Even if you chose a slower speed for these last few sets, if we're standing and climbing, a lot of our speeds will be pretty similar to each other. Somewhere in the 50s to 70s range is where I anticipate a lot of our climbing efforts to be. And you're way over halfway through this minute here. So just work on finishing it strong, thinking about everything that we've talked about so far, and just finishing it, polishing it up. Great job. We'll take a seat here. Whew. Keeping that light gear on makes my legs go kind of funky once I take it off when I'm seated again. But don't forget, we are still working in zone 4 here. Strong, quick legs for this segment. Once we're done with these last 90-ish seconds, we'll be able to take even more resistance off. So we can look forward to that. But do your best to cross this kind of mini finish line in front of us, just like you started. Whew. I think we have less than 11 minutes left total, less than 6 minutes left of proper work today. I'm certainly starting to count down those minutes because, yeah, I'm super thirsty. I feel like a smoothie's calling my name after this ride. I feel like I've maybe noticed a trend in some of my videos where I get to the later parts of a ride and I'm either hungry or thirsty or both. And I just think it's funny because that seems to be my life. But looking forward to good fuel afterwards. But just a few seconds out before we do our last bit of zone work for today. So getting ready just to take a few gears off. Same pace otherwise. Let's inch off one of those gears. And this is the last time we'll really need to take a look at our power. So doing a little bit of math, doing some comparisons to our earlier zone 3. Does it still feel like zone 3? Does it feel like that 5 out of 10 effort? And while you may feel more tired than when you started, I really challenge riders to be discerning on, hey, does it feel harder because I'm tired? Or does it feel harder because my power output has changed? So if it just feels harder because you're worn out and you're tired, I'm really gonna challenge you to finish up these 4 minutes and finish them up strong. And again, this is our zone 3 effort here. If you make any assessments and say, this is not my conversational pace, this feels way harder, and no way could I breathe normally enough to actually hold a conversation. Yeah, you know you best, you know your body and your bike best. Find the zones, find the efforts that work for you. And in just a few seconds, we're gonna have our last climb of the ride. So 60 more seconds if you've skipped out of any of the climbs, but maybe you're gonna come back in. You can do it for these 60 seconds. I know that you can. So let's go ahead, get those gears on. Last 60-second climb. Nice. Thinking of working our way up a nice, easy hill here. Not too steep. We have done steeper hills. This one is not the steepest. that we've ever done. So just stick with it. And we'll be at the top of this hill in just a few seconds, so it's not our longest climb either. And then we're gonna get to finish up on some flat road all the way to the finish. But just stick it out a little bit longer here. Nice job. You take a seat, take off that gear. 2 more minutes, less than, holding 100 RPM. If you committed to this pace, do your best to finish with it. Definitely keep breathing. This is not the time to hold your breath. You might be able to do it for over a minute if you were sitting still, but our bodies are working here. And even then, I don't recommend that you hold your breath at all during a bike ride. So that's to say, for any number of seconds here, still thinking about taking air in, sending air out, and you have a finite number of deep breaths left for our working period. As soon as we get to the top of this minute, we'll get to take all of our gears off. We go back to free spin and we cool down. So hopefully that gives you something to look forward to. But we do still want to finish this really strong, really well. So we're on that flat straightaway, looking towards the finish line. It's coming closer to us. We just need to keep biking to get there. Keep your legs moving. Take 2 more deep breaths for me. 1, 2, and that's it. You're done. Go ahead. Start to take those gears off. Feel your legs start to slow down. I'm still finding the right gear for myself. But really where we should be getting back to pretty much right away is a 1 out of 10 effort. Free spin, no cadence goal. Nice job. I'll let you have another few seconds to yourselves. Get water. Our first goal is always bringing our heart rate down. So that's what I have for you before we start talking about additional cool down items. About a week and a half ago, I came down with something. I was surprised because it's July right now when I'm filming. And I feel like summer months are usually full of sunshine and healthy habits and what have you, but I think I went out somewhere, caught something from someone, and I was out of commission for a few days. But what I'm dealing with now is that kind of aftermath of just a little bit stuffed up. So I think we'll be good in another day or two, hopefully, but it just feels inconvenient sometimes. But that being said, I'm glad I'm filming this workout today and not last week, because last week would have been a miniature disaster, I think. But at this point, I hope you guys are feeling pretty good. If you have a heart rate monitor, I always encourage you to check in with that before you just hop off the bike or really start cooling down. Seeing that your heart rate is at the very least in zone 2, if not leaning towards zone 1, just to let our bodies know slowly, gradually, that hey, we're done with our work for today. You can bring it down, start your recovery. If you do have another workout that you're planning on doing today, stacking on with this one, you can go ahead and jump there before your body starts to think that it's totally done with its work. But if this was your main workout today, and I'll say that it was the main workout for my day, just using these last few minutes here to let your legs spin. Typically, our cardio system is the fastest to recover. That's why when we catch our breath, we can do that within a few seconds or a few minutes. But our legs and our muscles are definitely longer recovery times. And so doing stuff like this, letting them spin out, helps with that. And then stretches off the bike as well, or even relating to the bike. There are a few stretches I'll do on the bike typically with calves and hamstrings. Just stretches in general will also help with that recovery period. And then fuel is the last piece, fuel and hydration. So as much time and energy as you can give to that is always my recommendation there. But you guys did a fantastic job today. We had a super quick ramp up, and then we just started taking off with our 5 sets of zone 3 and 4, spending 5 minutes each. Definitely longer intervals that we've done here today. But we did a few different drills, did a few different themes and cadences throughout. So you guys got a kind of diverse practice of what those zones feel like. And you did absolutely fantastic. So as you continue your cool down today and then finish up your day or your week or whatever you're up to, I hope you have a great one, and I'll catch you on the next ride. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for riding with me today. If you liked today's video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and save it to a collection for next time. If you'd like to see more of these, subscribe and get alerted to new videos. If there are any workouts that you'd like to see, comment them down below. I hope you guys had a fantastic ride, and I'll see you next time.